All right, I got another one for you guys. This one's going to be an article that we're going to talk about that kind of tells me a few things about the current generation of consoles and exactly how well they're really doing now that we're like 4 years into it, give or take. And so let's just jump right in. Got this article from Niche Gamer, and we're just going to talk a little bit about that. So, Star Wars Jedi Survivor previous gen ports launch in September. Publisher Electronic Arts and developer Respawn Entertainment announced a release date for Star Wars Jedi Survivor previous generation ports. So this is a Xbox One, PlayStation 4 port of the game, launching on September 17th. So if you have one of those older generation consoles, then you're going to be eating good because you're going to get Jedi Survivor. The thing that I'm kind of interested in is why are they doing this now? I mean, we're essentially halfway through this generation of consoles. You would think that at this point, these backports would not be an issue anymore. They would not be a factor. But you know, like the last generation console, yes, it did happen, and this generation it happened in the beginning as well. But not halfway into it, not as well into it as we are right now. So leads me to believe that the current generation of consoles, their sales are not as good as they could have been, and a lot of publishers or studios are driving this push to port back to PS4, back to Xbox, Xbox One, and try and get some sales that way. And so I wanted to kind of look into that a little bit. So I just went to Wikipedia just to get some numbers, and we're just going to talk about this because I really do think we're at a point now where consoles are not as popular as they used to be, and there's a few reasons as to why I think that is, and we'll get into that in a moment. But let's just take a look at the current generation and previous generation of consoles. So this is the 8th generation of consoles. You know, Wii U, Nintendo Switch is technically, I guess, considered 8th. But what we're really concerned with is the big two, PlayStation 4, Xbox One. And you can see they have all the generations here. They started 2013, and obviously they have the mini versions or the slim versions and the refresh versions. So the PS4 Pro, the Xbox One X, and that kind of came mid-generation through the console. So you're talking 2016 for those releases, and then they eventually got to a point where those even got discontinued, and those are, 2021 for the PlayStation 4 Pro, and then 2020 for the Xbox. I guess they are still producing the slim version of the PS4, which is interesting. I didn't know that they were doing that. I thought that was discontinued as well, and it very well may be by now. But yeah, they've got these basically cut off around 2020-ish. And that's kind of where we can consider the current or the previous generation of consoles to be dead. And that's effectively because the new generation, they came in, around that time, 2020, 2021 time frame. So, yeah. So you got about 10 years out of that, or yeah, almost 10 years, 8 years. But, you figure a generation of consoles, it's about a decade, give or take. And the interesting thing that I really wanted to get into was the sales on this, because the sales are very revealing, and I'm not seeing where they are. Let me just run back up here. There we go. Okay, so we're looking at PS4 and Xbox. So you can see 106 million sold for PS4, 58 million sold for Xbox combined of all the refresh and the slims and all that stuff. So these are just big numbers, 106 and 58. Now, the 9th generation, you can go down to sales on that, and you can see, again, yes, we're still in this generation, but 50 million and 21 million. So halfway through the generation, you're looking at less than half the sales, and you would figure that the bulk of the sales is going to be at the beginning of the generation when everybody moved over to the new generation of consoles. And then as people needed to replace them, or people grew into those consoles from being too young for those consoles and getting into a point where their parents are going to buy them, you have those sales. But the bulk of those sales should be at the beginning, at the front 2-3 years of a console generation. So you're talking through 2023. We're in 2024. And like I said, less than half and less than half. And so that's why I think they're backporting, because there's still a lot of PS4s, there's still a lot of Xbox Ones out there in the wild, and I think they realize that, and they're trying to capitalize on that. So that's kind of an interesting thing, because in my memory, I don't think this has ever happened before, where halfway through a generation you're backporting to the previous generation of consoles to try and capture sales. So what does that really mean? I mean, the first obvious thing is, yes, we had the coof, and the coof threw everything out of whack, and screwed up our well, whether you want to blame the coof or not, screwed up our supply chains. And that caused a lot of shortages of these consoles, and people couldn't get them. Now, it's been many years since then, and if you want a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series, you can get one. But I don't think that is an issue anymore. However, it could have had a cooling effect on the industry. Like, well, if I can't get one at launch, or if I can't get one now, why bother getting one at all? And it probably drove people towards PC. It probably drove a lot of people towards Switch. Because, I mean, Nintendo Switch is just, Nintendo Switch is a beast. Let's see, look at the sales here. Yeah, so not reported on actual sales, but 141 million models as of this March 2024. That is substantial. I mean, compared to, the Wii U, which is technically the previous generation for Nintendo, that's at 13.56 million. So they captured a huge amount of the market with the Switch. Now, is that stealing it from PlayStation and Xbox? I don't know. But it could just be simply the availability of the Switch, or the portability of the Switch, and having that third player in the mix could have changed the equation for Xbox and PlayStation. However, again, I don't think that's as big of an issue as before either, because you could blame the Switch, you could blame the supply chain issues, you could blame the coof, you could also blame mobile, which is more popular than ever. And the fact that younger generations are kind of just playing mobile games, they're not going to the consoles. But I think the bigger picture is there's just a complete lack of interest in the consoles that's starting to form. And we're at the very beginning of this, sure, but sitting in front of your TV and playing a video game is not as popular as it used to be. I think a lot of these kids are playing games on their mobile devices or on a Switch. On their cell phones and on their tablets. And that's kind of what they grew up with, because mom and dad handed them a tablet when they were young, when they were a toddler. So they're used to that interface. That's what they've grown up with. And switching to a controller, fewer and fewer kids are switching to them. So you're losing market share as people are aging in and out of these consoles. Because a lot of people get to a point where they get to school, or, into college, or what have you, and they just lose interest in gaming altogether. It was something they did in high school or in middle school even, and that's just, baby stuff to them now. So there is that segment too, that people just lose interest in it. They get busy with life or school or what have you, and they stop buying the consoles. So it's a generational shift, I think, is the bigger thing. And like I said, there are those factors that have contributed to this. Maybe the supply chain has exacerbated the issue, but I think it's just exacerbated an existing trend that we're starting to see form on these consoles, and studios trying to backport is kind of one of those things. And you can also look at the bigger picture, which is gaming as a whole has been shrinking. I mean, it's showing those signs of people losing interest in gaming, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I'll get into that in a moment, but you can see even in PC games, in general, people are just losing interest in gaming altogether. They're not buying the games like they used to. I'm sure that the sales of these ninth generation consoles, as far as the games on the consoles, is not as good as it should be, because, like I said, they're backporting back to the previous generation to try and capture sales. So I'm sure that the game sales are even worse than the console sales at this point, because how many people bought those consoles and just lost interest in the games? Probably quite a bit. And obviously there is the quality of those AAA games that are coming out in the Western world. And that has a huge factor on this as well. So, if you're finding no good games to play, you're not going to buy any games, and you're probably going to not even buy the games that would be good, because you're seeing an industry that's being saturated with lesser quality offerings, and you're just not bothering with that industry at all. You're moving to other interests. You're moving out to do other things, to hang out with friends, or go see movies or what have you, or watch streaming or whatever, and not gaming, because the games aren't there to play, and you just say, to heck with it. I'm sure that's a lot of people as well. So there are a lot of factors at play here. But like I said, I think the bigger picture is just a loss of interest in gaming altogether, and especially on the consoles, just because they are attached to the TVs. And, sitting on the couch playing games is not like it used to be. And it really isn't, because way back, I mean, we're talking many generations ago, you would invite your friends over and you'd all be on the couch together playing these games. Not so much the case anymore, because now it's all online. So these games have been geared towards, you being alone in your house, and all of your friends being alone in their houses, and you're connecting remotely. So it lost that social aspect as well. And that, I'm sure, has detracted quite a bit as well, because if you're just going to be alone sitting in your house playing a game, you might as well be on your computer, which you already have, or on your cell phone, which you already have. You don't need to buy a third-party device for that. And again, look at the streaming initiatives that both Sony and Microsoft have taken on board. I mean, Sony has their own streaming console where you can stream games to your handheld device from your PS5. Xbox has been on record saying they want everything to be an Xbox, that your streaming sticks, your Chromecast device can be an Xbox, that you can stream games to. So they're heading in that direction, where they're detached from the living room TV, and you can take these devices anywhere you want to. And they're probably going to be to a point where you're going to be paying for a service and playing it on your phone, or on your PC, or on, like I said, a PlayStation or an Xbox. That's my prediction. I think that's where the direction is going, is towards a cloud offering, not an actual console. And we may very well see that in the next generation, at least in some kind of form, more prevalent at least than the current generation. Like, it'll be built into the console, that you are more focused on that as opposed to a physical device in your living room. So, interesting world that we're heading into here, and it could very well be that they stop producing the high power consoles like they have. I'm sure they're going to get rid of the physical discs at some point. I'm sure that the next generation, the next generation or the generation after, you're not going to be able to put a disc in a console. That's my prediction, at least. I suspect that it's going to be at most a USB port, and maybe like a card slot, or a proprietary card slot. Probably in the case of Sony, that's what they would do. But yeah, I mean, I think that's where the direction is heading. I mean, look at the Switch. The Switch is proprietary. You can put an SD card in, and same with the Steam Deck. You can put an SD card in, but you can't use physical media. You can't install a physical game. Well, actually, I guess you could with a Steam Deck. It'd be interesting. It'd be difficult to do, but you could attach a USB ROM and physically install a disc. Use Proton and do it old school, I guess. So theoretically it's possible, but I mean, that's a huge hoop to jump through just to be able to have a physical disc. So really it's heading digital, it's heading streaming, and I think they're seeing the writing on the wall with these consoles. And especially the studios are, because like I said, they're backporting to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So not such a bad thing. I mean, if you've got that previous gen console sitting in your living room, and you wanted to play Jedi Survivor, there you go. I don't know how well the sales are going to do, but if it's out there, I would say wait a little while and see if they put it on sale, because I suspect that it will be a short amount of time before they put this game on sale, because nobody's going to buy it for the previous gen. But yeah, I mean, it's out there, and I'm sure you'll get it on sale at some point, probably in the next 6 months, and then you'll have a new game on your old console. So there you have it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this kind of stuff, give a like, and I will talk to you guys later.